Hello everybody, it is Pluto 20 spring 2023. I'm here with the reading for this section. So I'm using Astro Alignment and Mandala Astrological Tarot. This is for people who feel drawn to Pluto energy, Plutonian lessons, etc. Okay, so I'm only doing one. Upright. Revealed. Okay. Two of Wands, Six of Wands, Ace of Cups. I don't know. I mean, there's changes to a lot of the things that you love, changes to Ace of Pentacles at the bottom, changes to what you love, changes to what you're willing to invest in, changes to all of that. I think what you value may be very different than what other people value around you. Very different. And that could cause a feeling of isolation with these aces, or not as much of a crowd as you think. There's a lot of success in the status quo and what people have done before you, and things that people perhaps have set up for you to thrive. Right? There's certain jobs, careers, ways of being that other people have paved the way for you to be able to step into should you choose to, and there is maybe an expectation that you would. However, that's a very isolating way to be from your point of view. It doesn't align you to the people that you need to be aligned to do the kind of work that you want to do. And really, you may start to feel like it causes more, so you're at the point where maybe you want to do something non-conventional, and there's people who would rather you do conventional. Like, I say this as somebody who is delving into art, music, things like that. You know, the shit that basically you're not going to get paid for, so they say. And my family is pretty humdrum. They do basic jobs. So you may be like that, but you may be more tempted to go and do those things because you may be more rewarded with that. Like, it's easier to do, it's easier to get paid, it's easier to finance what you want. It's easier to find people who do it, right? So like when you do things where you aren't an expert, and you have to find people who are experts in it, and depending on how niche something is, it can be really hard for people to find mentors. It can be really hard for people to find courses, resources, just things to help that process of building whatever it is, that thing that is very niche, help that process along. And so you may actually be feeling like you're not getting rewarded for being unique. Like, you know, like we like to say that we reward people who like stand out, and we do ultimately, right? The people who like stand out and have these like really big ideas generally do get the support of people, but usually in reality, people don't really support that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we'll support it in certain aspects, but on a like certain aspects, and usually it happens in business, but on a day-to-day level, we're very much about conformity and rewarding that, right? We're about rewarding people kind of staying within the confines, within the lines of certain things, and not going outside of that. And so when you see people on a large scale being rewarded, and I would put that in quotes because a lot of the people aren't being rewarded, they're just being placated. From my point of view, they're being placated, and they're being played with, to be honest, and being played. But people are being rewarded, right? Like, they get to stay at jobs longer. They're not labeled as like troublemakers. They're not targeted. They're not having things taken away from them, right? For like their opinions and stuff like that. Like, they're not targeted. And it's not so easily targeted. They can get farther ahead in life without so many like arrows in their back, right? Like, because once you start to really deviate a lot of shit, a lot of targets are like, it's like you being yourself really does isolate you. And I'm talking about being yourself as in like just kind of acting on things that you want to act on can be extremely isolating, to the point where you may end up being so isolated that you just kind of like would rather just be rewarded for sorry, I was looking at the scene, which almost hit somebody. Almost, you just want to give that shit up, like you just want to give all that up so you can be like normal. Like, I often say this in like a spiritual context, is like, once you start being like spiritual or like more woke, aware, you tend to start seeing a lot of things about life that you're just like, I just don't want to see this shit no more. Like, I don't want to see this no more. I don't want to see beneath the surface no more. I just want to live like a normal life and not notice all this stuff. And that's maybe where you are. You don't want to notice all this shit no more. You just want to be able to do your shit, get paid, get the praise and affection that you want from people, and then like move forward from that. And it just may start to come up and be a little bit more difficult. I felt like I was like 3 of Swords probably is gonna come out. So you may have really loud protestations with a lot of major arcana here when you're not in alignment. And it could even be like you're driving down the street and you see these like big ass billboards for companies, but it's like you're going the wrong way, and it's like that's like a big ass sign, literally, because it's a billboard, but like a big ass sign for the universe that you're going the wrong direction. So you may get really, and with the 3 of Swords, that kind of more chakra, heart space energy, like you can really feel when you're misaligned. You can really feel when you're not being rewarded for being on the right path. Like it's not being punished, but you're being rewarded comparable to what you're doing, right? So if you're doing like the basic stuff that like is very acceptable, yes, you're gonna get very acceptable rewards. But if you're going in the direction of what you really want to do, the rewards look different. And the thing about it is, with this 3 of Swords too, is because if you're not going in the the normal direction, the rewards that you're going to get are not normal. And so if you've never experienced them to begin with, you really wouldn't know what they are like. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you really wouldn't know what it's like to be married until you're married. You wouldn't really know what it's like to lose 100 pounds until you lose 100 pounds. Like, you don't have the experiences to back it up. And so the experiential feelings and thoughts and conclusions that you come to are like very different, because you're not sitting within them just yet. Like, you haven't experienced them yet. You haven't come up to the decision. You haven't come up to the door of the decision. You haven't opened the door. You haven't walked through. And as a result, you haven't experienced what it's like to now pass into this new experience of being different and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. So a lot of the rewards that you are looking for will possibly be elusive, but very rewarding. You may have glimpses of what success looks like, what successes are, but it could be like very quick and not far in between, but they would be quick, as if you need to fine tune your ability to perceive well enough so that you don't get discouraged to stop. Discouraged and stop. Not discouraged to stop. Discouraged and stop. So you need to fine tune your ability to clock these experiences. And can I have like the sun and the moon over here? You also need to be aware of like the shadowscape of whatever experience you're having, as well as the more like positive sides of things. Also, the idea of shadow self existing doesn't necessarily mean it's all negative. I kind of feel like the shadow world gets immediately placed in negative, but I kind of feel the shadow self, more than anything, can be very neutral, being that it is what it is, and you either can accept it and work with it or not. And I kind of feel like it becomes negative when you don't accept it. Because the positive, I feel like in people's experiences, is just positive. Like, you know, like positive. There's no negative side to positivity. But on the shadow side of someone, there's always just an immediate negative thing. And so I'm going to be personal. One of the things that I had to work through is, and still working through, is that the negative sides of me are automatically bad, automatically deserving of like repulsion or expulsion from whatever group society. And that's just not necessarily how it works, because I don't consider my more negative shadow sides to be so detrimental to human condition that I need to be expelled, right, from whatever society that I'm living in. So that could be something. And so I think you also need to perhaps work through that idea that what I'm coming up with is not so foundationally shifting that like you'll immediately get expelled. And that sounds kind of contradictory to what I said, right? But I think the people who have the most success, I think, end up having a good head start of not being clocked until they're further down the road and they've garnered enough power to really start clocking when things go left so that they can maneuver outside of it. Like an example would be a political movement. Like, you know, people, you know, political movements sometimes take like 10, 15, 20 years before they like come to fruition, before anybody like knows about it. Maybe local people write news articles about it, but it never becomes like national or international until like years down the road. So there's that. But I say understanding that who you want to be takes some work, It's going to take some leaving things behind in isolation, but it is going to take some acceptance of what this work entails and what you're walking into, and seeing it for what it is and not necessarily always judging it, but being okay with the more positive aspects and seeing that you can get to the other side of it. Another thing about people with success is that they never see themselves as succeeding and getting beyond whatever issue that they're having. Like I was telling somebody, I was like, you have to see yourself passing whatever this is and becoming whatever it is that you're trying to be, right? If you don't do that, then it becomes really hard for you to muster even the courage and the strategies to arrive at that door so you can open it. So yeah, so Taurus. I don't know what was happening when Pluto was in Taurus, but I'm pretty sure the money was shifting. First quarter, opposition. Well, that makes sense. So you also may feel like whatever ideas you have are outside of your time. Meaning like they're ahead of their time, or depending on how you feel, they may feel like they're very antiquated. Like the ideas you have feel very antiquated, and there may be some workarounds that you need them to. Some workarounds. I feel like if you believe in past lives, you may be here to redo a lot of the issues that you had. Conjunct. Yeah, you may be here to redo like a lot of stuff. But I do think that, like, perhaps studying people who shift industries and read about their backgrounds and how long it took them may help you if there's some anxiety about how long this is going to take. Because Lord knows, like, at 29 going on 30, I do not want to shift careers again. But if you have to, then you have to, right? Especially if it's your highest good to do it. So I would work on, to wrap this up, I would work on accepting oneself in a more holistic sense. I would work on feelings of isolation when it comes to being the person that you are, cultivating enough self-esteem, enough self-image, so that you don't get discouraged when things go left. And I would be okay with the twists and turns that happen, and start to clock a lot of the issues that come up. Start to sense when you're going in the wrong direction. Really pay attention when you're going in the wrong direction. Pay attention to when you're reaching points of new doors that you can open. And then when you arrive at those doors, go through them. And then do the cycle all over again. This time new and improved. And before you know it, you'll be able to undo a lot of these cycles. Because with Neptune and Taurus, there's also a lot of issues with stability historically. So, okay. Thank you for watching, Pluto. I hope that you enjoyed this message. Take care.